Hi, so today I want to talk about the extend hire functions, and there are many reasons why you may want to extend hire. Probably you have hired out your scaffold, they are at a specific site, and the hire period has expired, but the client would like to continue using the scaffolds, probably in the same site or in a different site. So there are various scenarios that may demand or prompt you to extend a hire, and within the scaffold software the challenge then becomes, how do you extend an hire? Now, before we delve into this, I wanted just to show you a blog article that we published that gives you a few reasons why you may want to extend a hire. And you may find that if, for example, if you have scaffolds and they are at a specific site, and you have already estimated that this project is going to last a specific number of days, but then that project extends because of one or two or three other reasons, then you may find that a project delay can also demand that you continue using the scaffold asset on that specific site. So probably you just gave the hire period of, let's say, 10 days, and they need to add 5 more days. So how do you handle that? So some of the things that can cause project delays would be things like weather, material shortages that are needed to execute the job while using the scaffolds. You could also have labor issues. Maybe you've got workers who have absconded work, or something has changed, somebody is sick and they may need extra days, so this may cause you to have project delays and therefore extend hires. You may also have partial returns, where some of the scaffolds are being used in a different site. So instead of returning all of them, you can just receive the ones which are being returned, and the remaining ones can be used in that different site. So you need to raise an extension to cover the ones which have been extended. Then you can also have a new work site needs, where you may find that you need extras. You need to redeploy the scaffolds in a different site. So instead of going through a fresh hire process, all you have to do is just extend in the system. So it saves you paperwork and especially logistics and the cost of logistics. Then of course you can have a phase-based construction where you've got periods. So you have construction, then maybe a period for site meetings and other things to regroup and replan for continuing with the project, and then you continue using the scaffold. So you might find that you have to exclude certain days within an extension, within a higher period, or if those days to be excluded are too many. So you might find you may have to hire for time periods. So you can have the first phase, a short break, you don't need to return the scaffolds, you extend the hire. So let's go straight to extending hire. And to extend hire, I'm going to raise an order, and then I extend it the first time so that you see how the hire number works, and then I'm going to extend that order again, and then you see how the hire number works. So the first thing you need to do is to visit your navigation interface and click on the scaffolds manager. Like you can see, I explained to you last time what all these numbers mean, and what I want you to note is the last hire number for the last record. So this is the last record, and the last hire number is this HN015. Okay, so this HN015, we are going to create an extension that is connected to this record so that you can see the linkage between that and the next one. And I think one of the most important things you need to see is also, please note the balances here. Okay, so we have 1.296 million 600 for the current cash flow. We've got 300 scaffolds hired out, and 800 in total that we have in our in our pool. Out of those 800, 3 have been hired out. So what are available currently at the yard are 500, and out of the 300 which have been hired out, we have 20 which have been extended in a different site. Okay, and this 20 can be, as you browse your records, you can always see which hire was extended, and you can see here the status. So we have got this is the one, this record where the hire was extended. The hire number is, you can see the hire number is E1HN05. So this E1HN05 is connected to this HN05 record. Okay, and you can see the rest of the details there, the quantity that has been extended and all that. So let's raise a new order. You see the hire number, then we'll extend it twice for you to see the effect. So before I hire out, I will investigate whether my application form is reset and ready to receive an order. Then I'll go back to the scaffolds manager and create a new order. Okay, so you can see the hire number is HN016. That is the date of this transaction. Now let's create some names. So we could say something like Vincent Minor, just a random name. That's the ID of the client. Let's give them their phone number. Okay. Where's the site location? We could say EPZ. So they want 50 scaffolds. We can say September 5th to September 15th. So this is 10 days, okay, of hire. Let's say at 200, so you can see it comes to 100,000, which is 200 by 50 by 10 days. However, between this time period, we may want to exclude a day. So just exclude, you can exclude 1 day. So you see that amount changing. So you can see it's down to 1,000 because it's only 1 day. 50 by 200 by that one, that gives you 10,000, which is reduced from that total amount. Maybe this client wants to pay the full amount. Okay, so balance is cleared. We can now set the custodian. Actually, let's make this 80 so that you see what happens when you extend. Then here you can say balance to be guaranteed by custodian, and then now you create that order. Something else we'll mention in a later video is that every time you raise an order, an SMS is sent to this number. So you can see here an SMS is sent to this number, and I will show you this in another video, but today our most important thing is to understand how extensions affect the hire number. So just say okay. So you can see this is the hire form. This is HN016. You can see the details of the customer, the number of steps. Now, since these were 10 days, we excluded 1 day, so that's down to 9, giving you 90,000 at that rate. The client paid 80,000. There's a balance of 10,000. So you can download this application form, which should be saved in the appropriate location, and the form will be reset. So you can see the balances have been updated. This was 300, and now since we hired out 50, we have 350 scaffolds total hired out. The client paid 80,000, and this was 1,290,600. So you add that 8, you get 137. This was 268. Since there was a balance of 10,000, it went up to 278. This was 500. Now the available scaffolds for hire are down by 50 to 450. We haven't extended any yet, but we'll see how this number changes when we extend. The record is right down here. You can see the date from this date to this date, 50, 0. So keep in mind this number, because this number will change when you extend a hire. So we have the location, the other details, including the rate, amount paid. So this is the expected revenue for that hire period, but the client paid 80,000. So that leaves a balance of 10,000, and this is a new hire partial payment. We'll see how everything else works. So please note this extension, this hire number. Okay. Now, sometimes you may not want to scroll down like this because you might have too many records. So another option would be to go to this, and then you can search by either HN, location, or status. This was EPZ, and EPZ has 2 records like we saw. So if you select EPZ, there is this one record, and then there is that one. So you see there are only 2. Okay, this one for Vincent Maina and this one for Dennis Maro. Okay, and now you can view the order details. 50 steps, 0 steps have been returned. Okay, location is EPZ, 9 days, agreed rate is 200 shillings, and that 90,000 is the expected revenue. But if you come to view payment data, you will see that we've got a balance of 10,000. What was paid is 80,000. This is a new hire with a partial payment of 80,000. I told you partial payment means deposit. And now you can do other actions here. And this is where we are going to extend this hire and see how those numbers change. Now remember, when you're returning scaffolds, you can receive scaffolds partially and extend the balance. We will see that in another video. But right now I want us to extend this hire without receiving any scaffolds back. Remember, when you want to settle balance, you just check there. You can see the higher number and then the balances and the options to clear the amount. So, but today let's just extend. So to extend higher, you select this. Remember, you can also retrieve this record by HN. Just reset the filter and go to the last HN, which is this one. So that's the same details. So you can see same details for this record. The only thing we're using this HN as a filter. View payment data, and now action options. Let's extend this higher. So these fields will be auto populated. Like you can see here, you have got the original HN number. Okay, then since this is the first extension for this set, we're extending all the sets. Okay, so the extension will be E1, extension 1. That is the first extension for this hire. So everything else remains the same, doesn't change, except this date should be equal to this date because we are extending from this date. So we are assuming this period has expired. So the date of the transaction could be the same as the start date of the extension period. So obviously this is disabled because by default you are extending from the last day of the previous period. So let's choose a different location, which is very possible for you to extend in a different location. Let's say Kimalat, and you want to go up to 25th of September. This is still calculating, which is another advantage of this system. It auto calculates the totals. So let's say that until you specify the rate, so let's say 200, the client again paid something like 80,000. So let's say that, or let's put 70 because I want us to exclude 1 day from here. So you can just exclude 1 day, see how that changes. So it's down to 90,000. So there will be a balance of 20,000 on this account, and then we'll say balance to be followed up by the custodian. Okay, so the custodian is the person who is the point man for that order. Okay, so just extend, click on extend higher after you've supplied all these details. And there you go. Just close this. So you can see here the form is again auto populated with the relevant details, including the transaction date, the extension number, the details for this client. Only this time it's a different location. Then we also have the days of hire, the rate, the total amount for that hire, how much was paid, and the balance. And of course you want to download and print and sign this and also archive it. So you can see things after extending this hire, the total scaffold hired out is still 350 because the 50 which have been extended are still part of that pool which had already been hired out. Okay, then the revenue has increased by a further 70,000 to go to 1.4. Then we have 298 because this remember this was this was 278. Then there was a balance of 20,000 after the extension. And now what has changed? This was 20, but you've extended 50 from those which have been hired. So it will indicate here that 70 are actually hired out. And if you come down here to the actual record, you can be able to see the details. So what I wanted you to see is that for this previous hire, the record is closed because it is assumed the scaffolds have been returned and rehired. Only this time they've been extended. So these same 50 scaffolds are now being extended in this different location for this date range. So if you scroll all the way to the right, you can see from EPZ to Kimalat, same customer, same details, and those are different bills for the different hires. So you can see the previous balance is still there, for that original hire. So the fact that you extended means this is billed separately. It doesn't, the amount paid here that is not used to clear this balance, to separate the balances for each hire and to avoid confusion. So you can see here the 90,000 for both. Then this one was paid 80, this was 70. Though we deducted 1 day for both. So here you have a balance of 20, here 10, okay? The status of this is return, because we are assuming you are returning before you extend. The system will have to assume this hire period was closed, and then the same set of scaffolds were taken to a different site. And the reference, the code is extended higher to show that it's a continuation of the same set. Now this one, there is still a pending balance of 10,000. If this is clear, this status will change. Then we have got a balance pending also for this, because only a deposit was put. And of course we have the status. Now you can see the higher number has got an E1 appended to it. Now I want us, this client wants to extend this scaffold in a different site, but not all of them. He wants to return half of them. Okay, so we are going to return and extend the balance. Okay, so return scaffolds, this was hire number 16. So this HN16 is not here because it's assumed closed. So it will definitely just repopulate with E1 HN16. So you select that, you see there's a balance of 20,000. Let's clear 5,000 so that you see how that works. And then return 25 pieces. And for this you will have to choose the extension request, because you want to extend only 25 steps. Remember, if you use the browse function, it will extend all the 50 steps. But now we want to extend half of them. So what happens to the other half? The other half is returned. So we return this as we extend the balance. Then you can see here, client indicates interest to continue using the remaining scaffolds in the same site. Okay, and then now you can commit return. So you need to see that this will increase by 20,000, this will reduce by 20,000, this will increase. These are total scaffold hired out, so this 25 will be removed from here and also from the available and added back to the available pool. So let's commit, and there you go. So you see this has increased by the 5,000 that has been paid in, this has reduced by the 5,000. Then this was total hired out, so the 350 has reduced by 25 to 325. You can see this record here. So we have 50, then here we have 25. Okay, and if you go all the way to the remarks, so I wanted you to see something else here. So this was 450, now 25 have been returned to the pool, so now we have 475. The ones which were extended were was this 70 less 25 is 45. So 45 are the ones which are still outside extended. Okay, now what I wanted you to see as well was here. So you can see here, when we were returning this, okay, we cleared, this was 70,000 and this was 20,000. So the 5,000 that had been cleared when we were returning was added to what was paid. Okay, that is how the total up there increased to 1.4 or something like that. So this is 75. We still have a balance of 15,000, and you can see the status has now changed to return but extend 25 steps. Okay, so that means the moment you have this return, this HN can no longer appear. So we have E1. This is the first extension for this HN16. Now this will no longer appear in the return because it is assumed a closed and extension request. So you can see here, use the extend function to raise a quote for the retained steps and raise an invoice for these 25 steps with that reference number. Okay, so this is the remark you added. Client indicates interest to continue. Now if you look at return, I want us to extend now that directly without receiving. So you can no longer request an extension because E116 does, you have it here because of the 25 steps. So you can still receive these 25 steps and clear the balance. However, you want to extend without returning again. So you come here, then I want you to see how that happens. Let's select the same E116 and this time you can see 25 steps, 50 in, so we still have 25 steps, which will allow us to extend. View payment data. So here we've been told to return. These ones have been returned, but there's still 25 steps outside. There's a balance of 15,000, and here the client paid 75,000. So we are extending these 25 steps, but it will not affect any of this because we are just moving this. So this will be a fresh record. Okay, so let's go here, and we can choose to settle that balance, or we can just extend this higher. So you can see again what happens to the extension number, the higher number. It is still the same higher number. The only thing that changes is this prefix here. It's now E2, which means the second extension for this set. So you can see now that it's not the full set, it's now 25. Okay, the other details remain the same. So you can say, let's say we want a different site, say Yukos. Okay, we want to extend this until 30th. This time we will not exclude any day, and we'll give the client at 200 and let them settle the account fully. Say clean extension without balances. Okay, then click on extend higher, and there you go. So you can see E2 HN16 details for the client with the new location, 25 steps extended. That's 5 steps, no balance, fully paid. Okay, you can download this form, sign, and file it or archive it. What I want you to see is what happens here. Now you can see total scaffold hired out is still 325, but now the 45 extension will continue because they were already extended. We just extended a second time. So these numbers up here don't change because the status is the same. Only thing that changes now is this amounts, because the extension also attracts a charge. Now what I want you to see is that this, which was 25, has now been cleared up to 50. Okay, so we effectively closing this record, and we have the new extension here. If you scroll all the way to the right, you can see the details of the location right here. So this was Kimala, they moved to Yukos, and then we also have the amounts. So you can see here they still are, this was extended higher, balance pending or pending balance. But now, since we have extended the same set in a different site, it is charged separately. The balances on this previous extension remain, but we close it upon return pending this balance to be cleared. However, if you look at this one, you can see it is an extended higher and it's green because the balance has been cleared. So there is no balance on this record. And if you go here now, you can see the extension number. You may have a lot of records here. So to avoid scrolling, you can use the browse function. You can always come here and look at the details. So you can see E1, E16, this was the first time. And that was how much we were expected. So you can see there's a balance of 10,000 there that needs to be cleared. So it's scaffolds have been returned, or rather quote unquote extended, but there's a pending balance. Again, you can settle this balance. You cannot extend a hire that has already been extended. So this is disabled. There's no damage. The only thing you can do on this account is settle that balance. So let me just do that very quickly so that you see the effect. I'm going to do a full settlement and offset that balance, and you can see these numbers are changing here. You can see the 10,000 has been removed from here to here, and if you look at the HN016 down here, you can look at HN016, this one. You can see it's return, balance, settled, and the amount which was pending has been fully paid now into the account. Now I want you to also look at the other extension. So you can have this, you can look at this. So this one also was closed because it's an extension of an extension. Okay, so you can see though it was closed, we had a balance still pending there, so we can still settle that balance, but you cannot extend. However, if you go to the second extension, you can look that they have not been returned because it's an open extension. Until we return and settle the balance, then we will be close this record. So you can see the balance was cleared, but it's an extended hire, balance cleared. Okay, So the actions on this, you can only extend it again, maybe in a different site or the same site. So what I needed you to see was how the extension function works and how balances are affected when you clear balances and open new records for extensions and still have others remaining. And that is the advantage of separating each hire to its respective payment details and return status. Thank you.